Welcome to the ArtPeak show. We are an illustration and animation studio creating art in different styles. We've worked on projects for the BBC, Netflix, and many more. And on this show, we are interviewing people from all walks of life to bring valuable knowledge to artists of all kinds. If you would like to work with us, head over to our website at www.studioartpeak.com and contact us. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ArtPeak show. Our guest today is Trinity Poplar. She is a multifaceted author who loves creativity and many expressions of art. She wrote and illustrated the books Comparison and Trepidation and are now available on Amazon. Trinity is now a college senior at Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University, taking up bachelor's in entrepreneurship. For more of her works, just click the link in the description. Enjoy the show.
All right. Again, thank you so much, Trinity, for coming on to the Art Pick Show. We are going to talk very informally about your experience so far. I know you've just let me know that you're still quite new to this, but hey, it's still great to speak to you because, you know, as someone who is new to it, you always have a very different I guess, insight into how things are currently going for you. And I'm sure that people who are just starting out or also thinking about doing their own thing, who are still on the fence and not yet even started, I'm sure they'll be inspired by what you have to say. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. So I really don't even know where to start because I never saw myself as an author. I always saw myself as an artist. Well, my mom, she's also an author. She has 3 or 4 books now.
Okay.
And so in the writing of the first book, it was actually a poem that I wrote way back in high school. And at the time, I was illustrating for other authors. So I was drawing for them and just doing a lot of art things. And I really enjoyed the creative writing class. And so I brought my poem, shared it with mom before I turned it in for an assignment. And she was like, you need to make that a book. And I was like,
Right.
no. Like I'm an introvert. I don't know if I'm good with kids. I don't know. And she's like, no, you need to make that a book. And so now I have Comparison, and it
Wow.
literally started as just a poem for a creative writing class. And when I wrote the poem, I was just thinking about, okay, what do I struggle with as an artist, or what have I struggled with that a lot of artists don't talk about? And it was comparison with like the whole social media, digital age, everybody's seeing what everybody else is doing, and just kind of, even when you're learning how to draw, when you're learning what your art style is, when you're learning how you want to portray something, there's a lot of comparing that can happen. And so I wrote the poem thinking from that perspective and not thinking from like a little kid perspective, but my art style is very much like bright colors, very like kind of for the kid audience, because I started drawing art when I was a kid, and I started posting when I was in middle school, high school, that kind of age. So I kept the simplistic art style. And with my book Trepidation, even though like my art skills had gotten better, not better, but I guess different, more advanced in different areas, I chose to keep it simple because I figured, okay, if children really like simplicity, and not just children, but like just having your own kind of brand that goes with the actual series is something that is going to be connected to each other, then I figured, okay, what I want to do is, for one, have characters that a lot of kids can relate to. What did kids want to see when they were reading children's books when they were young? So I did a lot of research. Because me personally, I would read a lot of like Dr. Seuss and a lot of books that had rhyming in them, which I loved, but not a lot of books that had characters who looked like me or who were drawn in an art style that I was like, ooh, like I really, really want this art style to show this culture, show this type of representation. And I think that's really important, especially as a kid growing up in this huge world with all of these different people and trying not to compare yourself to other people, just getting to see yourself portrayed in this character. So that's another reason why I don't give them any names. It's just like she or he, her or he, or sister, brother, mama, daddy, mom, dad. And I did that because I want every child, every family to see themselves in it, even if they're like, okay, they might not look like me, but they have a family like mine, or they might not have a family like mine, but they have like good values, like my family has good values. So that's a little bit of, I know that's everywhere. I hope that answers your question.
Hey, we're just getting started, so thank you. Wow. Yeah, there's so much in there that you said. First of all, I know you said you started drawing from a very young age. So how did you then develop your artistic skills?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have an older brother. He's 2 years older than me. He's 24. And when I was younger, I would look up to everything he did, everything him and his friends would do. And they were really into video games, anime, and drawing. So
Right.
I would like spend time like, because he was the type of sibling where he's like, no, like you can't hang out with us. You can't do this stuff with us. But he was also very encouraging when it came to like passion projects and like hobbies and art and that kind of stuff, being competitive with like video games and all of that. Because he'd be like, no, like my sisters are going to know how to play these games well. They're going to know how to draw well. So there would be times where me and my younger sister and my older brother, we would all draw together. We would do comics, little sketches. And we had different computers, and they were like the old, Windows kind of computers with the box screen and everything.
Yeah.
Not too old. But I remember my older brother had this program called Pivot where he would do these stickman animations. And I thought, okay, that is so cool. I want to do that, but I want it to be like actual characters that are drawn. So I would go on Microsoft S Paint and I would draw like these characters. I'd copy and paste them into Microsoft PowerPoint, into each slide. And then I would play each slide to see like the moving, because we didn't have like I wasn't allowed at the time to get on like Google and use Google Images or any of that. So I would just do that. And then we reached a point to where we all kind of like branched out in different areas of art. Like my sister, she's a filmmaker now. She kind of really, really liked watching TV shows to see how they're like formatted. My brother, he does a lot of he does animation still now, but a lot of it is more like the character-based animation. And I think he also does like commercial animation, and I don't know exactly what it's called, because that's another area where, okay, I want to get into that too, where I could have gone to art school. I could have gotten a degree in art, but I ended up doing entrepreneurship because I love innovation. And like even with the whole Microsoft PowerPoint and like the Microsoft Paint situation and being an artist, the art is there. But like my love for innovation kind of helped me to get to the point of, okay, you can animate with any kind of software if you find a way, So that's another interesting thing that kind of helped me to dive into the field of art, is just to see like, okay, I can use my voice for art. I can use my pen for art, my computer, anything, storytelling. Like my three younger brothers, I would just tell them stories. Like I would literally just tell them stories, not like bedtime stories or anything. I would just say, okay, what do you want your character to be named? What do you want your character to be named? And what do you want your character to be named? What do you guys want them to be like? And that was just my way of kind of interacting with them. And my mom, she told me one day, she's like, you actually are good with kids. And I didn't want to accept it, because I was like, no, like, I don't know how to be as extroverted as like, because my mom's very extrovert. I was like, I don't know how to be any of those things. She's like, no, you find ways to keep kids engaged and to actually have fun along with them. And I think a lot of that is what being a children's book author like consists of, is finding ways to, okay, not only do I want to inspire these kids, I also want them to know that their ideas matter, their imagination matters, their innovation matters. So I'm trying to like bring it all in, but that's basically everything.
Cool. So yeah, you pretty much grew up in a very, very creative family, right?
Yes.
Wow, that is pretty cool. I mean, hearing you guys all trying to do a project together, that's a vision right there. That's a cool vision. Okay, cool. Okay, so you said you studied entrepreneurship.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm still studying. I am a graduating senior and I do have some classes left.
What did they teach in that class?
Yeah, so
Oh,
literally the best thing I have ever learned in regards to entrepreneurship is something that one of the business doctors told me. Dr. Scaro, if you're watching this, I love you. She told me done is better than perfect. And at the time when I had her class, I was such a perfectionist to the point where, like, even though by that time I did have one children's book, I was like beating myself up. I was like, I should go back and like change the background. I should add more stuff in the background. I should add this. I should add this. I should give them names. I should change the story. I should make the personified version of comparison less scary. Like, there's so many things that I was like freaking out about. I didn't think it would get so much traction. Someone like submitted it to, I think, Barnes and Noble. I found it online, like at a Barnes and Noble, and I was like, oh, like I thought it was only Amazon. People were asking me to come read and come speak and everything, and I was just so perfectionistic and hard on myself. And so when she said that, I was like, you know what? You're right. Done is better than perfect. Instead of me trying to go back and fix this or change this or do these things or I don't know, like I just realized, okay, why don't I find my strong suits in being an introvert? Why don't I focus on getting as much done as I can instead of focusing on getting things as like top-notch quality as I want? Because like my top-notch quality or version of that in the past will be different from mine now. So I might as well just get it out, as soon as possible. And when she told me that, it helped me to get to my second book, Trepidation. And it's funny because Trepidation, I actually struggled with more as a child. I struggled with so much fear, and that kind of played into my perfectionism because I was like, okay, what if people start hating me, hating my children's books, hating all of this stuff? I was afraid, and I wasn't used to all of the eyes being on me. But one thing that I also learned through entrepreneurship is that you can find more ways to connect and more ways to show people what you're really about and more ways to actually show your value. And I think the business side of it and trying to get profit, trying to get revenue, all of that I learned through like business school and entrepreneurship classes, and definitely like for management and all of that. Like the leadership and the inner values that you learn are actually way more important than any of the return that you can get. Because even if you are inspiring one person, that literally can have an impact on
mm,
everyone.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Cool. Okay, so I'd like us to get into a little bit about the process of publishing your first book now. So you said it was inspired by a poem that you had written, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you said the poem was written more as an expression or with the mindset of an artist, and I think you were writing it for other artists at the time. So when you were turning it into a children's book now, how did you make it into a children's book essentially? How did you write it to become children's friendly, if you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, totally. So it's crazy because when I was writing the poem, I did not think of comparison personified. I didn't have any parts with a mom or dad in it. It was literally just about like comparing and how that can kind of defeat the joy that you can experience through anything.
Mm,
Um, and then when she mentioned like turning it into a children's book, I was like, okay, I can I can rearrange this story to actually show comparison in an even more impactful way. And so I ended up changing the word comparison to a actually like personified thief, where whenever he shows up, then the kids start comparing themselves to others. But at first, it shows them having that joy. The original poem, it didn't show that. But now the book shows them like saying like, oh this picture, it's perfect, I drawn it perfectly. And then comparison shows up and he's like, it doesn't look that good. Or when the kid does a cartwheel and he's like, yes, or he's like, I've made straight A's, and comparison shows up and he's like, but you can't do a backflip. You can't do this, you can't do that. And it helps to simply illustrate how impactful comparison can be in a negative way. And then I also went back for the hard copy version of comparison after the paperback and added some pages at the end that kind of talk about how comparison can be positive when you're comparing yourself to who you were yesterday, and when you're comparing your growth to how it was in the past. But I've heard from like parents, from like multiple people getting emails and just pictures of people just explaining and showing how this book is not only speaking to their children, but to them. And I think if it was the original poem, that wouldn't have been possible. But now that comparison is actually personified, I should probably show it for anyone who's like watching and has no idea what I mean. Here's him saying like, my drawings are better.
Okay.
And she heard someone say, that's when she kind of starts doubting herself. And comparison causes doubt. It really takes away joy. And so I'm keeping that kind of thing going on through the series, even though the original poem had no personification, no kind of like, this is going to be here to actually affect the storyline as an antagonist. I want to keep that in there just so that all of these like quiet obstacles that kids are facing that nobody's talking about can actually be talked about in families and in different places.
Okay, that's pretty cool. The personification of comparison.
Thank you.
That's a great idea. Okay, so after you finished writing, you are also an illustrator, so you didn't have to look for anybody else other than yourself to do it. Did you make that conscious choice that you were going to do it? Was it like an easy choice to do, or?
It was so a little bit of both. Getting it done as soon as possible, that was a perspective that was easy for me. But having it look as good as I felt like it could was really hard, because I've illustrated books for other authors where I put tons of hours into the backgrounds, into the detail, into the landscaping and the layout and all of that. But then for my book, I was just like, drawing each page, I'm gonna get it done, and then like later on I had this guilt of like, wait, should I have done that for my own book? Should I have spent more time? But I think that just seeing how people also like it the way that I did it helped me to have the courage to just continue doing it on my own. So.
Sweet. Where can we actually find more of your artwork, by the way? Because when I looked at Instagram, I couldn't find any.
Yes, so I have a Instagram and a YouTube account named, and a TikTok, I think, named Trends Art Journey. And there's no spaces, it's all compacted together. And I also have a Wix website. I need to figure out how to pull up the actual name. Like, I don't know if it's Trinity Poplar Wix or something like that, but I can send that to you. And yeah, Trends Art Journey, no spaces, compacted together.
Okay, sweet. I definitely want to check it out, your art. So
thank you so much.
Cool. So you finished the illustrations, you've written a book, you finished the illustration. What was the next step?
So the next step was getting it through publishing. I was doing Amazon KDP, which was Kindle Direct Publishing, and I can't remember if I paid a fee to sign up. I can't remember, but I do know like the process for me was completely free, which was perfect because I was like, I'm a broke college student. I don't know how to pay for this. And so it was really helpful for that to be a free process. And I also used a free drawing software for anyone who's like aspiring to do any of this stuff. Like, just do it, because nobody has to know what you use to draw. Just like Microsoft Paint and Microsoft PowerPoint, like no one's going to see those animations. But at the same time, just finding stuff you can use to get it out there is really important. And I used Fire Alpaca to draw all of the, and I do have like Procreate and some more advanced tools now, but I'm still using Fire Alpaca for like the children's series to kind of keep the, I don't know, like the drawing tools the same, the simplicity the same, while I'm like learning on those other platforms.
Okay. So you use KDP to get it out there, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. Did you do the formatting yourself as well?
Yes and no. So they do have a like a format check, and they'll send you an email saying like this page is going to be cut this way. You got to move the text on here. So they do help with the layout process. I also formatted like kind of the other side of the coin on Canva. I have the premium version connected to my mom for her author type stuff. She does a lot of flyers, a lot of, my mom's an influencer, and she's like, I don't know how she does everything that she does.
Wow.
I really don't. But I use Canva for just laying out the text and the pictures and everything.
Who's your mom?
So my mom is Toya Poplar. She's amazing. I don't know. Mom, if you're watching this, I love you so much, and you're like superwoman. I don't know how you do everything that you do. My mom is an Enneagram coach, a speaker, a poet, an author, and lots of other things. And she makes earrings now. She constantly has just a lot of stuff going. Kudos to mom.
That's pretty cool. Okay. All right. So you've written the book, you've illustrated, and you've put it out there, right? So the next part, I'm guessing, is marketing, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How did you approach marketing, and how are you still approaching marketing now?
Yeah, so I market my books. I have a new YouTube channel named Transit with Trend. It's motivational content. There's some vlogs, there's some self-care videos, some like spiritual videos, and I always have something at the end that kind of promotes the books. But I will say for me, marketing it's not hard from like a what to do aspect and from a business aspect, thanks to schooling, but I think it's just hard for me to show up um online because I'm having to remember, okay, like to I can just be myself. I don't have to put on this extroverted persona. But I think a lot of times marketing it's seen that way. So my favorite place to market is YouTube. I like Instagram. I get distracted by everything going on. And I do have some more things coming out on my Instagram for like marketing the books and everything, some things to post. But I think when it comes to just getting stuff out as much as possible, I like Instagram stories, and I like actually talking to people in person because I go to a lot of events with my friends, with my mom, my dad, and just getting to talk to people in person, hand out like business cards and everything. That's kind of my way of like networking into the marketing process.
Okay, cool. And when I know you briefly mentioned that when you were writing Trepidation, one of the harder things, I think you said, was the perfection. Was that what you said?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So apart from that, what else was different when you came on to write Trepidation?
Yeah, another different thing was me trying to decide how much of a culture I wanted to represent. Like when I was character designing, I couldn't decide between, okay, I definitely wanted the characters to be like Asian, of Asian culture, but I didn't really know, okay, should they be like distinctly Japanese or like Chinese, or what's going on? And so I just decided on Japanese because there was so many things I wanted to put in it, and I was like, okay, I'm getting too deep into the character design. I can just do another book with children who are Chinese, or I can just do something
Sure.
else. And my goal is to have diversity anyway. So I think it became, at first it's stressful because I was like, I don't know. And then it became kind of like a relief. Like, you know what? I could just draw as many cultures as possible and enjoy the process. And I just tried to find like a way to draw the characters to where there could be some kind of like resemblance of, okay, that person, like, they don't dress completely the way I do, but there's still like resemblance of, like, this author cares about making characters who look like me. So that was, and another hard thing was drawing trepidation personified without making scary, because I was like, okay, the book's named Trepidation. Comparison, I redrew him, even though after I published it, I was still worrying if he was too scary. Before I even published Comparison, I redrew him so many times. Like, a jagged smile just took the smile away. Like, I don't know, because I don't usually draw anything that's scary, but I don't want to scare the kids. I don't want to be reading and be like, mom,
Yeah.
And so that was another hard thing with Trepidation, just figuring out, okay, how can I draw an antagonist in a book named Trepidation that's not scary? I think it's I think it's all right. But the only thing that helped me to have peace about it is I showed it to, like, my youngest brother, and he's like, oh, it looks okay. And I was like, okay, I'll definitely trust your opinion.
Cool. All right, Trinity, we're coming to the end of the interview now. I would like to ask, what is your vision, or what is your end goal with all of this? I know in the future this might actually change, because I know I've set some goals before and eventually decided to go in a different direction. But as for now, what would you say is your end goal with all of this, with your entrepreneurship, with your books? What are you trying to, I guess I'm asking, what is your ultimate goal? If you were to go tomorrow, what would be like the
Okay,
imprint?
if I was to go tomorrow, my ultimate goal would be for, like, with my degree, with the books, with everything, my goal would be for people to, can I split it into three?
Of course.
For people to spend more time with their families, for people to connect more, and for people to experience true, genuine love. I think that would be the three things. And I say love because I love God, and in all of my books I put a scripture. And I'm doing that because I really, not because I want to, like, push my views or any of that. It's just like a tiny scripture at the top, but it's because I really want people to find something that helps them to connect with friends and family, and to genuinely love, because I know when love is genuine, you make a genuine impact. So that's the goal.
Okay, awesome. Well, Trinity, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the ArtPeak show. Thank you so much for your generosity in being open about how you got your books published, and all the different experiences that you've gone to make that happen so far. So thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you, Lawrence. I really appreciate being here.
Thank you.